Hi guys, thanks for joining. Hey Aaron, thanks for taking time.
Good to see you, Hall. How you doing?
Very good. Hey Chris, good to see you
Hey,
as well. Thanks for
yeah.
coming.
Well, actually, it'd
Hey,
be easier if I turned the camera on.
I thought
So
the
I'm
camera was
actually,
on.
yeah, now it is. Yeah, I'm actually, you're not gonna believe this. I'm actually sitting in a Whataburger in Las Cruces, New Mexico, right now.
I
So
always wanted to do that.
I'm halfway between Alamogordo and Deming. So we're traveling this week on vacation.
Oh, great. Well,
So
appreciate you taking
so
time. Looking forward
yeah,
to your
sure.
feedback here. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
You bet. Hey Sterling, thanks for joining.
hey, Hall. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Looking forward to today's event here.
Yeah,
Looking
same
forward to
here.
catching
Thanks
up.
for making sure that we all got here in one piece. Thank you for the invite.
You bet. Looking forward to it. Hey Eric, thanks for joining.
Thanks for the invite, Al.
Great, great. Appreciate you being here. We'll do a mic check and a video check here in a moment when we get a little bit more settled in, but thanks for coming right now. Bader, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Howard. Thanks, man, for the invite. Great to be here, man.
Yeah, yeah, looking forward to your questions and feedback and so forth. And
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
glad we could connect again. Thanks. Hmm. I think that was everybody here so far. We'll have more people coming in. We have a good turnout today. We have four companies presenting, 10-minute pitch, 10-minute Q&A. And then we have quite a few investors signed up as well. And we'll see who wants to ask which questions. There's that. And interesting. Hey, Jen, thanks for joining.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Let's see.
Hey everyone, good evening. Hi.
Hi, Kamaya, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You bet.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, Mo, thanks for joining.
That's good,
Hmm.
Cool. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. We'll do mic checks here in just a moment. Let's see. Hey, Seth, thanks for joining.
Not a problem. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to catching up. Hey, Shailis, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Excellent.
Been not too long since we saw each other at the Bio Conference there in San Diego. Really
That's right.
appreciate your presentation there. It was quite interesting.
Thank you. It's good to see
Cool.
you.
Hi, you, Dave. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Hal, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Looking forward to catching up on Moonshot Capital, what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, we are busy with the stuffs. Like attended 4 meetings in a week, 4 conference in a week. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this is my fifth one. Yeah, looking forward to that. Looking
Great.
forward to hear the pitches. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
You bet. Thanks for coming. Hey, Kobe, thanks for joining.
Hi, nice to meet you again. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Looking forward to catching up.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation.
You're welcome. Glad you could join us. Let's see. I think that's every, oh, a lot. A lot, okay. See. Okay. So three of our four presenters are here. Let's go and do mic checks and video checks. Paul, since you're on camera, you want to go ahead and test your microphone there and test your slides?
Sure. So, uh,
We see them now.
yeah,
We're good to go there, I think.
okay.
Um, let's see. Let's go with Aaron next at Aether.
Can you hear me okay?
Hear you fine.
Good. Let's do this. Let's do this. All
See your
good?
slide. All good. Thanks for joining there. Looks good. And then Eric Himokath, go ahead and let's test out your slides. And I
Yeah.
believe your audio already works, but we can test
Can
it too.
can you hear me clear?
Yes, I can.
Good. Looks good.
It looks good. Yeah, advance forward. That works. Okay, very good. The order will be Aether first, AccuBreath second, Hemocath third, and GX fourth. 10-minute pitch, 10-minute Q&A from the investors. Hey, Jeremy Song, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Great. Looking forward to it. At this point, hey, Spencer, thanks for joining. You want to test out your slides?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. 1 second. There we go. Share. Right.
Uh, and we
That
see
worked.
them.
Great.
Yeah, they work. Good deal. Like I say, Aether first, AccuBreath second, Hemocat third, and GX fourth. We'll go through and give the investors, we'll walk through and have each investor just say a few words about themselves, just name, fund, a little bit about what you invest in, but 15 seconds each. We've got a good group today. We'll be kicking off in about 7 minutes. I'll do a short presentation on 10, 5 or 6 slides, see if there's any other investors we're going to be having come in, and then we'll go through the introductions, and then we'll kick off with the first presenter of Aether. Did anybody have any questions for me about the event today and what we're doing or about TEN Capital? All right. Hey, Morris, thanks for joining.
Hello, Mr. Hall. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you again.
I was on a call with a bunch of my Ukrainian business partners a little earlier today, and I started telling them about how you guys created the network. They were all just fascinated.
Oh, great, great. Thanks. Mustafa did a great job helping pull all that together, and glad you could be there part of it as an investor. So appreciate it. For those who don't know, with Bravo Ventures, we did a Ukrainian defense tech webinar last week with about 11 companies, 3 drones, 3 cybersecurities, and a number of other deep tech applications that were really cool. And so we're in discussions about doing the next one, how we'll do it next. And so looking forward to having you guys back again.
I may have a company for you for that.
Okay. We'll come
I'll
back.
Yeah, I'll email you separately.
Okay, great. Thanks. Hey, Francisco, thanks for joining. Who else is coming in?
Thank you.
You bet. Well, we'll kick off in just a couple of minutes here, guys. I think most everybody's here already. We may get a few more coming in as well. Would like to have the investors introduce themselves. So for those who want to do that, just leave your camera on and after the short slide presentation about 10, we'll just go through and have each of you just say, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kick off with the first presentations. It's always great to know who's in the room. If you want to monitor instead of participate, just turn the camera off and we'll let you do that. At the end, if you're interested in any of the deals, just put in the chat box who you like to follow up with. For those who are actively participating, we just ask you in the event at the end, who would you like to follow up with? Name of a company, we can do a short introduction to connect with people individually there. Before we jump into it, any final questions from anybody in the room? All right. The Can everybody see my slides?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for that. With that, we're at the top of our hour. Let's go ahead and kick off. My name is Hall Martin. I'm the CEO of TEN Capital. I want to thank everybody for joining us today for another great round of presenters and great investors asking questions. For those who don't know TEN Capital, we'll just look at a few slides here. At heart, we help startups and investors connect for funding and have been doing so since 2009. We help companies with the strategy, the analysis of the deck, the invitations to events, and the follow-up afterwards. In short, we provide the legwork, saving the company time and money. We also form capital for the early stage ecosystems. We help high net worths and VC funds and angel groups find capital for their program. With the high net worths, we're helping them start family offices. They also invest in emerging managers. VC funds find limited partners through the high net worth and the family offices in our network. And we find individual angels are often doing better with an angel group. So we help angel groups find members because that's how they fund their program. We also been helping investors do this with angel groups. We've done over 35 angel groups we've helped over the past. We have 6 family office programs running around the country: Austin, Dallas, New Mexico, Southern California, and the Bay Area. So if you're interested in those, let's talk afterwards about that. We have multiple events going on. Today, we're in the Life Science Syndicate session. We have 4 life science deals up there. We also have a quick pitch for tech companies. We have an investor education session, which has both tech and syndicate life science deals, and we also have a content piece for it. And we also do in-person events. Currently, we're doing Speed Match in Austin, 5-minute pitch by each company, and then 10, 15 minutes with each investor in the group. We also do a scale-up pitch in Dallas, which is a lunch series, which we're planning to expand to the rest of Texas and other areas afterwards. 11 to 2, the fourth Thursday of the month, we meet in person in Plano. We'd love to have anybody in the area that would like to come out and join us for that. This is the TEN Capital team. There's about 10 of us in the program helping with the events, the outreach that we do, as well as the investor education sessions that we do, as well as all of the work we do with the company campaigns that we work on. If we have a TEN Capital Substack newsletter called the TEN Capital Connect, it focuses on how to use AI prompts in your analysis and screening and diligence work, and it's used by both investors and startups. So take a picture of that QR code and you can get a free subscription to that. There's also a paid section for advanced prompts. We also, if you are in the room and are a startup and are thinking about the program, just take a picture of that QR code, fill out the form, and we'll follow up to see if this program is a good fit for your fundraise as well. With that, let's go ahead and get started. Let me stop sharing my screen and let's go through and let's pick out the investors in the room first. Let's go with Kobe Calderon. Kobe, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your group?
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Kobe Calderon. I'm the founder and the CEO of Gold Ventures Investment. It's a global investment advisory company. From one side, we are acting as a venture partner for 6,000 investors in more than 30 countries. And from the other side, we are a venture builder helping startups to build their strategy and to penetrate the global market with our network that we built over 10 years. Our ticket size is between 1 million to 10 million US dollar, but our strategy is to match public funding or non-diluted funding that could be up to 3 million euro for each company, especially in the life science, biotech, biomed, with private capital that coming from our investor. And in parallel, we're helping the companies in market penetration with our global marketing agency. Thank you very much.
Great, appreciate that. Chris Piedmont?
Yeah, thanks, Hall. It's nice to be here. So Chris Piedmont, Neoterra Capital, Austin, Texas. We are in the inception stage to pre-seed, seed stage investors. We do a lot of life science, a lot of medical. In fact, we're just doing a medical device out of San Antonio, a company called RMR Ortho that we're leading their Series A round. We will typically write a check between $250,000 and $2 million, depending on the round and the nature of the business. I'm also one of the judges and founders of the Medical Innovation Olympics, which occurs every year. This year, we're going to be in New York City with about a dozen medical startup ventures doing a competition there. if anyone's interested in that, please feel free to get a hold of me. Happy to tell you more.
Great. Thanks for that. And Morris Khan, tell us about yourself and your group.
Most of our capital comes from tax credit leverage programs that the states and federal government offers. So we basically help people deploy that. It's non-diluted. So we end up with a lot of not having to run over to the people's grandmother. We've done fundings in excess of 10 million. And right now I'm in a partnership with L2 and total investments of north of 10 billion.
Great. Thank you for that. Mark Toman, can you tell us about yourself and your group?
Yeah, Mark Toman here. Thank you, Hal. Nice to see you. Spiral Sun Ventures, we're on our second fund. We primarily focus on better for you consumer products, better for humans, better for planet. We do diversify a little bit outside of food and beverage. We generally are seed to Series A and follow-on capital. Our largest check to date has been around $5 million. But we just focus on really great founders and consumer products where I can really help the founder with retail connections, et cetera. I'm also an operator and an entrepreneur, so they tend to like that, and we're happy to be part of this presentation.
Great. Thanks for that. Tom Carew.
Hi, Tom Carew. I'm with a band of angels in Silicon Valley, California. We have a health sciences medtech group that's very active. We've about 40 to 50% of the companies that we fund each year are in the health sciences medtech field. We're primarily seed, Series A, follow-on rounds, and we try to support management of the companies that we invest in a myriad of ways, including helping them find additional funding. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for that. Joe, since your camera's on, you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I work with the Origin Foundation. It's a nonprofit that funds medical breakthroughs. Check sizes can be anywhere from 50,000 to 5 million. But really, I think investor activation is probably the biggest strength that we offer to these early stage companies. I also work as a venture partner with Cipher Capital. Cipher usually invests Series A plus check sizes up to about 2.5 million. Prefer to lead, but we'll also work opportunistically with others on deals. With Cipher, the focus is longevity, deep tech, med tech, and space medicine.
Great. Henning, thanks for joining. Tell us a bit about yourself and Vindex.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm not an investor. I'm an agency that places fractional sales leaders, so fractional CROs, CSOs, VPs of sales into companies. We run the largest pre-vetted roster of executives in the US, about 1,400 executives at this point. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Hal.
Great. Thanks for joining. Was there anybody else that I missed?
Hey, Morgan. This is Jeremy. I can't come on camera, but I'll
go ahead.
Introduce myself. So this is Jeremy Sohn. I represent P74 Bio. We are a private capital fund that invests in biotech device and diagnostics companies that are at clinical stage. We are a lender, so we're non-dilutive capital, and we lend to companies leveraging favorable R&D tax structures in Australia and Canada and the UK. In advance, we're favorable to two of your presenters already, and so excited to learn more. But if anyone is interested in learning more, happy to chat. Our check size, by the way, is largely open-ended. We can generally won't lend for less than $1.5 million, but but we don't really have a cap in terms of our lending in terms of the loans that we'll write. So.
All right, great. Thanks for that. If there's no one else, let's go ahead and kick into our first presenter, Aaron.
Audio okay?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Okay. All right, thank you, Hall. Thank you, everyone, for your time. With Ether Therapeutics, we're going after the opioid crisis with a novel compound. And, the title sounds like it's kind of a high science approach, and it is, but that doesn't translate into risk. It's a relatively de-risked project, as you'll see from the plan and from the data that we've already generated. So let's get into it here. Everyone, I think, is familiar with the opioid epidemic. For us, it's personal. One of the people in these pictures is a family member of a co-founder. But in addition to making a large societal impact with this drug, we also have the ability to generate what we think is a relatively attractive risk-adjusted rate of return for our investors. And so our solution to the opioid crisis is a novel neuromodulator that basically binds the same receptor as the opioid. It binds mu opioid receptor, same receptor as opioids. But in so doing, it actually preserves the analgesic function of that opioid while suppressing the dependent signals emitted from an opioid drug. So we can develop this in combination with an opioid as basically a non-addictive pain therapy with opioid equivalent analgesia. And that, of course, is the largest market. We can also dose it as a single agent for treatment for opioid use disorder, as well as a neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome, which is a pediatric orphan disease. There are a number of large names in the field associated with this project, including Dr. Phil Skolnick. So the investment thesis is pretty straightforward. We've completed safety in 2 human studies with a prior formulation. We've got clean tox in 2 species. We've got a battery of non-clinical evidence from models that we historically have been predictive of the human condition. And so we're going to take all that data, which was funded mostly through government grants, and raise $10 million and use the $10 million to go generate proof of concept data in 2 clinical studies over a period of about 2.5 years. And if we're successful, we'll be targeting roughly, conservatively, I should say, a 10x return based on recent deals done for phase 2 assets in the non-addictive pain space. So the reason we can do this now primarily is just due to this discovery that our founder, Wolfgang Sade, made around this particular mechanism and the biology around opioids. And so he's our chief scientific officer and founder. He's a world-renowned neuro researcher out of UCSF and Ohio State University. When you think about what it takes to win in drug development and biotech, there's a number of success factors, and this team checks pretty much all the boxes of those success factors with all of our prior accomplishments at prior companies, as well as startups where we have gotten exits for our investors historically, both Rick Hawkins and myself. Bruce Imbert is our chief medical officer, who successfully developed a number of drugs in the space, and Laurent Snore is our very capable chief operating officer and is on the call to help answer with questions as well. So there's a lot we can do with this drug, obviously, but we got to focus because we're a small biotech company. So what we're going to focus on is first proving this out in patients on chronic opioid therapy to get a proof of concept around the pain opportunity. And so the ultimate commercial formulation is our drug co-formulated with an opioid agonist as one daily oral pill to treat pain without the risk of addiction. So we're the only TPP in development that's going after, only drug in development, I should say, going after this TPP. And then, there's some follow-on indications we can go after as well if we don't get the exit before that. So when you look at the pain market in particular, there's a lot going on in development. There's a lot going on in the deal world, including a filing for an IPO just this week. All those companies are going after drugs that basically are trying to get away from opioids. And that's a novel, idea. But the problem is all those mechanistic approaches are compromising some level of efficacy for better safety. So in other words, they're compromising analgesia for better safety. So opioids, obviously, on a continuum of analgesia versus safety, provide the best pain relief, but also have the lousiest safety profile. We're the only TPP in development that basically is going after opioid equivalent analgesia without the safety liabilities. No other drug in development can make that claim. If all these drugs actually worked and got to the market, which of course they won't, but if they did, opioids still aren't going away because none of these drugs are going to consistently treat chronic, moderate to severe pain. Opioids aren't going away anytime soon. So our view is, let's make them safe. So the way we do that is with this mechanism here. Wolfgang published on this a few years ago. Basically, what he first elucidated was actually how opioids drive dependence. It turns out that when opioids stimulate the agonist, the opioid receptor, what happens, the receptor, I should say, what happens is they agonize it, and then with repeat stimulation, create this really loud kind of pro-dependent active state. And that's what drives all the downstream negative signals like dependence and hyperalgesia and drug-seeking behavior and so forth. And so what he began doing was testing compounds to try to modulate this receptor in a way to basically bring it back down to a resting state without blocking the analgesic signals. You can think of this as like, going from, starting your car and going immediately to red line. That's what it's like with this receptor complex on repeat stimulation of opioids. So it turns out he found this modulator that basically binds with the same binding kinetics to the receptor as opioids, but then gradually, without blocking the analgesics, gradually reverses it back to the resting state, but not completely shut off. Right? If you completely shut off, you'll end up precipitating withdrawal and having all kinds of violent attacks. It's like going from red line to just throwing your car in park. The engine's going to fall apart. What we're doing is gradually reversing it back to a nice kind of cruising speed. And in so doing, keeping the analgesic signals flowing while blocking the negative signals. So the way we're going to prove this out in the clinic is first establish proof of concept in patients on chronic opioid therapy. That's step one. And that's the value inflection point for this investment. So we're going to go to Australia and do 2 studies. The primary study being a phase 2A proof of concept study to measure treatment effect on patients that are on chronic opioid therapy and see the effect from baseline on their dependence scores and their pain scores. If we can prove this out, we basically have a proof of concept for 2 product profiles. One as a treatment for pain without the risk of addiction, or with the risk of dependence, I should say. Number 2, as a treatment for opioid use disorder. So one single phase 2A study proves out the concept for 2 significant product profiles. We'll also generate safety data for the pediatric orphan disease as well. So from an investor perspective, the way this looks is we close the $10 million note. It's a $13.3 million pre-money valuation. We go make a batch of material. We go to Australia. We go to 2 studies. One's going to be a PK study to pick a dose for our phase 2A, because our oral formulation has not been in the clinic. Only the prior IV formulation has been. And then go dose these the chronic opioid subjects for 4 weeks. And at the end of the 4 weeks, if we're seeing the change from baseline in dependence scores and no change in analgesia, that's basically the home run we're looking for to generate a value inflection. And we'd expect an exit based on recent deal activity. If the market changes between now and then and we don't get the exit we want, it's not a series of never-ending dilutions. We're going to go raise 1 additional round and go straight into a registrational study for the neonate indication. NOWS, neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome. And the reason we can do that is because it's a pediatric orphan disease. And so the safety database will allow us to go straight into a pivotal study that would be approvable. So this is just a summary of where we got our valuation benchmarks. We won't get into all the detail, but the long and short of it is if you look at 2 recent deals here on the continuum for phase 2 non-addictive pain assets, these assets had less level of human validation at the time of these deals than we plan to have at the completion of these 2 Australian studies. So it's going to take about 2.5 years to get to that point. So we're hoping to move the needle from our current valuation up to that range there as well. So in summary, we've got a novel, unique mechanism of action. No one else is really going after modulating the receptor the way we are. No one else is going after the TPP we're going after. They're all making the compromises that I explained earlier. Plenty of evidence, both non-clinically as well as human safety and tox. The $40 billion addressable market is actually light. We can talk more about that during Q&A, but there's a significant market expansion opportunity affiliated with latent demand due to prescription hesitancy on opioids right now. Two clinical trials, 2.5 years, $10 million to get to the value inflection point. We've got about 6.4 million committed out of the current 10 target. We're going to close our first 7 very quickly. hopefully within the next month or so. And when whoever comes in for the first 7 basically is going to be able to tranche their 50% of their investment now, 50% upon Australian regulatory approval to dose our first patient. So there's benefits for getting in to the first 7, then we'll do a rolling close to the 10. That sounded like the timer, Hall. Am I done?
We're at the end of the time. Thanks so much for a great presentation. Who has our first question? Just raise your hand and ask it out loud, guys.
Yes, I would like to ask, thank you very much, Aaron, for the presentation. I would like to ask, I saw that you already raised 5 million grants. Are you open-minded to raise grants from the Austrian funding agencies that actually in the first year you can raise 3 million euro for R&D and to penetrate to the DACH region through Austria?
Yeah, I don't
Kobe,
think. Go ahead,
Kobe,
Ross.
we spoke in the a few weeks ago, exchange emails on that question.
Yes. Okay, yes.
So I'm with Aaron. And as I told you, we'd definitely be interested, but it's going to be take time to understand what we could tap into from Austria, and so we want to get back to you once we have closed this first range, because this is not going to resolve the super short time timing that we have. But definitely, yeah.
Yeah, Kobe, thanks for asking the question. Obviously, with the operational commitments, we'll have to just think through how we can meet those in a way that satisfies the requirements to qualify for those grants.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Who else has a question?
I'll just make a quick comment. So, Aaron and Laurence, it's good to hear the pitch again. Super enthusiastic and supportive of what you guys are doing, and thank you again for realizing the value of Australia as your clinical market. So, look forward to following up.
Thank you,
thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, appreciate it. And we have not forgotten about you guys. Obviously, it could become a good source of funding. So since Jeremy mentioned Australia, for those of you who aren't familiar with what's going on in biotech these days, very few biotech companies outside, therapeutics companies anyway, outside of big pharma start their programs in the US anymore. Most start either in China, India, Australia, or Eastern Europe. We think Australia is a great solution for a number of reasons, not just a tax credit, but also Laurence has done an excellent job. And she actually set up and ran an Australian R&D project at her last company successfully. She knows all the players, has the playbook, and is running that playbook for us. But more importantly, she has conducted some pre-feasibility work and initial feasibility work with CROs and investigators down in Australia. And we've basically confirmed and validated the fact that there are plenty of the target patients we need to enroll these studies relatively quickly down there, and plenty of sites that are qualified. So we're not looking at making any quality sacrifices at all in terms of the data generation by going to Australia. And the CROs we're talking to have a history of generating data that both pharma and the FDA find credible.
Great, thanks. Morris, did you have a question?
Thank you, sir. I'm fine just listening on this one, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Who else has a question? We have time for one more question. Who would like to take it?
Okay, well, thanks. Okay.
I actually just have one quick question. So is there one therapeutic use case where you could utilize the drug as a like a naloxone alternative? So to the extent that you guys are interfering in the signaling pathways, could you use it as an immediate prevention, or am I totally butchering the science?
Well, the problem with naloxone is if you give naloxone to a patient who's on opioids, it'll precipitate violent withdrawal. So they're actually antagonizing the receptor. So our compound, it's a good question, Jeremy. Our compound is actually the primary metabolite of a related drug called naltrexone, which also cannot be given to an opioid, somebody on opioids. So we avoid precipitating withdrawal by modulating the receptor as opposed to antagonizing it. The reason you'd want to antagonize it is if you've already gotten off opioids and you want to stay off. And that's how naloxone and naltrexone are actually used today. So we'll let them continue to treat patients who, for relapse. But our goal is, if this works, we don't expect folks to ever get addicted to opioids again. In fact, if this were to work, we would look to convert the market from what current first generation opioids to second generation opioids, which basically would be non-addictive.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Cool. Thank you.
We do have one question in the chat. Sorry, I didn't see that sooner. Thank you guys for pointing that out. What primary endpoint has FDA agreed would demonstrate clinically meaningful reduction in dependence while confirming that the analgesic remains intact?
Yeah. So I got this.
Go ahead. I responded, but go ahead. No, go ahead. No, I just responded. But go ahead.
You spun the chat already? Yeah. So good question. So no one has ever run a study in pain to reduce dependence in pain subjects. What they have run is opioid use disorder studies, and Bruce Imbert, our chief medical officer, has run a number of those studies. So in that setting, clinically meaningful reductions in dependence in opioid use disorder studies is roughly around 30%. That's the precedent. Obviously, what we're doing is novel, so we'll have to go to the FDA at that time and agree on the final endpoints. But we'd expect our big pharma partner to ultimately be having that conversation, because by the time we get to that point, we would have already proven this out in the Australian studies.
Yeah, and I just added that we'll be using clinically validated tools to assess the reduction dependent. So we have co-primary endpoints in this proof of concept study.
Yeah, these tools are already clinically validated. Good point.
Great. That's the end of our time. Let's move to our next presenter. Thank you guys for a great presentation. Now we're going to have Spencer Matson of AccuBreath. Spencer, if you want to launch your slides and kick off when ready. We see your slides.
Hi, everyone. I'm Spencer Matson. Thanks for letting me come here today. I'm co-founder and CEO of AccuBreath, and we are improving emergency ventilation. And so what's the problem? The problem is that when a first responder arrives on scene, the first thing they always address with any patient is their respiratory care before they deal with any other issue. And when a patient needs life-saving respiratory care, they reach into their bag and they pull out a life-saving technology. I have a bag valve mask in my hand. You can see one on my screen. This device is the standard of care across the globe. This device is over 70 years old. It predates every regulatory body across the globe, and it's grandfathered in. It doesn't have to change. It doesn't have to get better, and it hasn't for the most part. Some people have improved upon it, and that has always driven cost, and it has not been widely adopted. This device, to be used and performed correctly, all the recommendations are that it's done by two people. As you can see on the screen, one person is holding that mask down very tightly with a chin grip to make sure there's no leak around the mask. Then the other responder is squeezing that back. They squeeze it not too hard, not too soft, not too fast, not too slow. Because if they do any of those things, they either under pressurize or under ventilate and they can kill the patient, or they over ventilate and then they can cause lung injury. And unfortunately, that is what occurs. Almost 200,000 patients in the US are dealt acute lung injury due to poor ventilation, and 70,000 people actually die from acute lung injury. These are symptoms that show up in the hospital after the emergency procedures, and so they're not correlated to the EMS directly. And because of that, it ends up as a healthcare cost that is determined and not known where it comes from. But it's pretty clearly documented in the clinical literature. Costs billions of dollars to treat and deal with this issue. So that's where we come in. AccuBreath is essentially an ultra portable ventilator designed in a way to replace the bag valve mask. So why can we do this now and nobody's really done this before? It really kind of stands on three fronts. First, there's technology, right? Sensors, algorithms, portable battery, and miniature-sized blowers now make it for us to have a high-end ventilation device in a small, compact form. Two, there's a shift in the demand for EMS. The demand is increasing for issues with respiratory support across 911 and other agencies, and yet there's a work shortage of first responders. Fewer and fewer people are going into that field. So having a procedure that really requires two people to be done adequately when it can be done with a different technology for one person makes a lot of sense. Second, both regulatory and clinical standards are improving for the good point of the patient safety, patient outcomes, and even the groups that have in the past guided their policies are now recommending mechanical ventilation over manual ventilation. So we sit at the spear point of all three of those things. So how does AccuBreath work? It's actually really simple. I have a prototype in my hand. You can see one behind me. This is the current prototype. You can also see on the screen where we're headed in terms of the next generation of the device. But the device can easily be hooked onto a mask, put on right on the patient's face, and with a push of a button, the device delivers a breath. It has safety thresholds, so it doesn't deliver too high and it doesn't deliver too low. And it also makes it so you can't deliver too many breaths per minute and hyperventilate the patient. It basically does the majority of the work for the first responder. On top of that, it can be even used off face. You can strap the mask onto the patient with an H strap. You can tube the device, and then you can have the device automate the ventilation process for the patient during resuscitation and then during other aspects as well. The current marketplace for our technology is actually quite unique because, like mentioned before, no one's really addressing this actual issue. You have these bag valve masks, you have the original, as you can see, you have these more improved models like the one below it that's very sophisticated, but then it's very expensive. And it's the reason why these devices are used is because they are cheap and disposable. There's a whole market of technologies that have been developed to where they augment or improve the use of the bag valve mask. This device here is about $200 per patient. This is a $1,000 per patient device. They are a one-time use. There's oxygenation devices. They don't provide resuscitation, but they do help oxygenate the patient. And then there's these high-end EMS ventilators. These are all $20,000, $30,000. They don't, once again, target the disposable resuscitation part of the process. They are mostly for transport and BiPAP during those other stages of care. So we truly find ourselves in a situation where AccuBreath is the only company and product that's aiming to merge those two areas into one simple device that can be used through most of the aspects of care. And so that really is our secret sauce. AccuBreath replaces the bag valve mask for resuscitation. It can then transfer with the push of a button the mode to go from BiPAP or CPAP or whatever the patient needs during their care as they're transported to the hospital or as they're treated on site and discharged. You oxygenate the patient, you provide assisted level breathing, whatever is possible or what is needed. And then those patients can then go to the next stage, which is the hospital, or they can go home comfortably. And AccuBreath addresses those things. So we start combining multiple aspects and products within our one. The market is surprisingly large for these bag valve masks across the globe. About 100 million of them are used and thrown away. And if you think of just the medical standpoint in terms of medical waste, this is not reusable, not recyclable. It's a one-time use. This is not breaking down anytime soon in the landfills. And so we actually want to address that as well. The US is approximately 50% of this market, and you can see what a hypothetical SOM would be of 10% within about 5 years. AccuBreath makes money in a razor blade model. So our devices, the more devices we have out there, obviously that's great, but the more times our device is also used, then our consumable gets used. We also have a consumable. It's a mask and a circuit. Every patient needs their own sterile mask and circuit for their own breathing and to make sure nothing goes back into the device so it can be reused safely. That is how we can target this market and penetrate it at essentially a pretty low cost and decrease that barrier to entry for first responders to try out a new product, a superior product, for around the same price point that they're already paying for bag valve masks. And you can see once you merge the unit and the consumables, we have a good margin rate, and we can grow from there, even with built-in distributor fees. So this is why we want to be able to also improve upon the care in terms of medical waste and the impact. We actually are working with a group that actually can make our mask completely biodegradable in over 12 months in a landfill by using some of their proprietary resins, which is a great opportunity, and we are pursuing that for the future. We have two fully granted, US patents. And we have one more in office action right now, should be granted this year. It all started with our first investment from a group called IdeaShip out of Seattle. It's a great group. If you should look into them if you want more information. This is our team. We can talk about this more in upcoming questions. I've been with the company from the beginning. My co-founder, Dr. Michael Fogarty, invented this technology in the lab with Dr. Sakata, an anesthesiologist, and Dr. Joseph Orr, a serial entrepreneur that runs multiple med tech companies. We are a medical device, require class 2 approval, 510K. We have a very clear predicate, and our process isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when we get approved. It just depends on how many hoops we have to jump through the FDA. But our group, Peak, has already done FDA approvals for ventilators in the past, and we're following that same framework. We are raising $2 million over the course of 2 years. We have already closed 350,000 of that. This current convertible note is to get us to the 1 million mark. We just received some commitments. We have 20% committed now, so about 46% of that is open. You can see what the use of funds over these 2 years will be aimed at getting us through the final design changes and submitted to the FDA, and then even the FDA approval process. Here's some of the terms of that convertible note. Here's some of the groups we've been working with. We have received 1.7 million from the National Science Foundation, and essentially that's how we have bootstrapped or run this company. But we have received investments from angels, due diligence reports from Keiretsu and TEN Capital, and are working with these other groups to help us take every stage of care. AccuBreath is definitely designed as a medical device exit with an acquisition. Most med tech companies are. We anticipate that within about 3 years of sales, we can have 16,000 units on the market and 2 million consumables being purchased annually. To give you an idea of where that stands, that's only 2% of the market. So it's not very large. We actually think we can do more, but this is realistic expectations. That provides an EBITDA of about 76 million for AccuBreath. So at about 5x multiple, and PitchBook data suggests 5x to 7x in terms of sales is where we get that $384 million hypothetical exit. So AccuBreath has a lot of potential. We are a platform product, so we have other verticals as well to move into once we get there. Thank you very much.
Great
Appreciate your time.
presentation, Spencer. Appreciate that. Who has our first question?
Hey, have you guys spoken to Laerdal?
To who, excuse me?
Laerdal. It's a venture fund associated with the Laerdal family. They're the ones who created the compression dummy for teaching people how to do CPR. But this seems like an obvious fit for them, and I'd be happy if you follow up. You can get my information from Martin, but I'd be happy to make an intro for you guys.
Greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we'd love that introduction.
Yes. What's your name?
Sure.
That was from Jeremy.
Sorry,
Jeremy. Oh, okay,
yeah, it's from Jeremy.
Thanks. Okay, great. I didn't see the move there, but that's great. We'll look at that. Who else has a question?
I have a question. Have you spoken to any of the strategics that were listed there? And if so, what did they have to say? Also, and I apologize, I had to step away for a second. I kind of expected to see a lot of military all over this. When I hear first responders, I think dual use. Could you talk a little bit more about those types of conversations?
Yeah, so great. We have not spoken to these strategics yet. We have mostly been in secrecy mode, so to speak, as we've been pushing through our federal grants and the FDA. Ambu is the maker of this bag. We could see that they could totally incorporate us, but they would have to consume their other market. These other groups, we don't really have the connections for that, and we understand that we can find them. But most med tech companies need to do some sort of traction before communication gets really serious, unless you have access. At least is that from our experience, and it might be different for others. But you are 100% correct. Military is an application here. You can see kind of an Army version. There is one Army medic to every 500 Army soldiers, and they carry a military version of the BVM that costs $900 instead of $30. And so there's a great aspect there because it performs multiple features. There's an aviation market and procedural sedation is a clinical side. The ultimate end goal for AccuBreath would actually be for the product to find a way through regulation to be approved and required to be next to every AED in the country, because clinical data suggests that respiratory support during cardiac arrest significantly improves the outcomes, but nobody does CPR these days, and nobody really does mouth to mouth anymore, either due to lack of knowledge or germs. There's a fear of germs out there. So you actually 10-year goals for AccuBreath down the line would be to get regulation to approve this. And then overnight, the market could go from a $3 billion market to a $30 billion market by requiring some sort of respiratory assist device in every church, government building, school, restaurant across America or the globe. So there's great opportunity there for a large expansion. And military would be one of those for sure.
Great. Who else has a question? Got time for one or two more.
If there aren't any questions, I did want to just mention, because we didn't get to it in the slides, we understand that we have a target audience here that's very fragmented. And so you can see that we're currently building relationships with regional fire departments and even local fire departments in Utah and Denver. But it's very likely that this device and high, probability that it would need to use a distribution channel like a regional or local distributor. So we have letters of intent, letters of support from groups that are already willing to be our first pilot studies. This is a distributor that we've been working with for a couple of years to discuss the path for them to distribute us within 13 states. About 30% of the population is covered in their distribution channels, which is why we have been working towards aspects of building out the framework to make it so we can get there. The raise of the money needs to be done so we can finish the development of the device and then submit to the FDA, and then we can really put all of these channels in place.
Great. Are there any other questions?
I have a question. Sorry, I can't find the raise hand button. But Spencer, in a hospital and clinical setting, how are you planning on doing the cost sharing? There are so many corporations set up from, ambulance service through surgery that, in order for each one of those to individually, come in contact with the patient, arrest their part of the bill, and then, pass that, be able to do that cost sharing to pass that on. How does that work in a hospital setting?
Fantastic question. I'm glad you brought it up. So the bag valve mask is currently a one-time purchase disposable commodity product. Fire departments buy them in bulk, and they expense that completely as a disposable. They don't get reimbursed for the use of this bag. So fire departments or emergency medicine, they get one global code for reimbursements of emergency services. It could be like $1,000, for example. And depending on how many disposables they use, $100 worth of disposables or $400 worth of disposables, they still only get paid that $1,000 back. So yes, we understand that we can't add to their costs. And in fact, we want to improve upon them by decreasing the other disposables. And so our opportunity at AccuBreath is the razor blade model. And so our margins are set up in a way that we can be flexible and do something like a lease with a contract for a certain number of consumables. And as long as they purchase a contract, for example, we could essentially lease them the device for a low cost or even for free, so to speak. And within 6 months, we actually break even. And then that first year, we make a little bit of money, a net profit. And if they reorder the second year, then our entire revenue goes to consumables. So we have this high opportunity. And so as we build upon a use case, and get more devices out there, even at essentially a free price, the consumables will make up the revenue on the back end. On top of that, leasing products provides other verticals for revenue like servicing and management, and we can provide those options as well to increase the upsell. Hospitals, on the other hand, is a different vertical and a different opportunity because for them, there is a CPT code that can be billed for resuscitation or CPR work. So right now, every hospital room has a BVM in it, and if they use it when a patient crashes, they will bill a CPT code for that use. Our device would be under that same CPT code as they did a code blue and then brought in the crash cart.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
That's the end of our time. Thanks so much for a great presentation and great question, guys. Let's go to our next presenter. We have with us next Hemocath. Eric, if you want to launch your slides and kick off when ready.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Caron, CEO and co-founder of Hemocath. Our company is uniquely positioned at the convergence of medtech, digital health, and vertical AI. At Hemocath, we're commercializing the hemodynamics AI platform. Our core mission is to transform acute heart failure management from a reactive crisis response into a proactive predictive care that sets a new global standard of care. Today, we are raising a $4.5 million seed round to secure FDA clearance and conduct preclinical studies with key opinion leaders at Yale School of Medicine. To understand why this opportunity is so massive, we must look at the sheer scale of this crisis. Heart failure remains the leading cause of death and the single largest healthcare cost in both the US and the EU. When a patient suffers from acute decompensated heart failure, or ADHF, the heart abruptly fails to pump blood effectively, rapidly flooding the body and lungs with fluid. In the US alone, there are 700,000 ADHF hospital admissions every year, representing $600 million obtainable market within a $2 billion US addressable market. To manage these critical patients, clinicians rely on pulmonary artery catheters, or PACs, as the standard of care to directly measure hemodynamic data and assess heart function. However, clinicians have currently no other options but to use legacy PACs built on 50-year-old technology. They are large, rigid catheters that must be inserted directly through a major vein in the neck. This carries a 3% risk of serious clinical complications, locks patients to hospital beds, and causes significant pain. Technically, legacy PACs are fluid-filled lumens connected to external sensors. Those systems are notoriously unstable, requiring constant manual adjustments and frequently generating unreliable data. Additionally, studies show that clinicians make data interpretation errors up to 40% of the time. That leads directly to misdiagnosis, wrong treatment decisions, and prolonged hospital stay. Hemocath solves every single one of these complications by pairing our advanced Hemocath pulmonary artery catheter with the hemodynamics AI platform to offer a solution that is safer for patients, easier for clinicians, and AI-driven for accuracy. So safer for patients by replacing a large catheter inserted in the neck with a flexible small catheter inserted safely in the arm, just like a standard IV catheter. This drastically reduces clinical complications and while restoring patient mobility and comfort. Easier for clinicians by replacing large external sensors with integrated optical sensors. This proprietary medical device captures high-fidelity hemodynamic data and simplifies bedside setup. Our vertical AI platform runs complex hemodynamic data interpretation, eliminating the 40% human error rate and providing clinical decision support to safely accelerate hospital discharge. Ultimately, our hemodynamic AI will continuously monitor high-fidelity pulmonary artery waveforms to identify early hemodynamic deterioration before clinicians can detect it manually. We are disrupting an established $2 billion US market. HemoCat creates a dominant, highly defensible, competitive position through a high-margin, dual revenue business model. First, 35% of our model is traditional medtech hardware. Our single-use HemoCat PA catheter is priced $550 per unit with a 60% gross margin. Second, 60% of our model is a vertical AI SaaS revenue stream. The hemodynamics AI software delivers a scalable recurring revenue by charging $150 per patient per day for real-time clinical decision support. Just as Apple sells iPhones to collect high-value personal data and then capture high-margin recurring revenue with their software platform, our company sells HemoCat PA catheters to collect high-value clinical data and then capture high-margin recurring revenue with our AI software platform. HemoCat is significantly de-risked. R&D for our HemoCat catheter is completed. Our technology is protected by 8 issued patents fully owned by our company. Large animal trials confirm continuous high-fidelity pressure monitorings in the pulmonary artery with 0 vessel lesions on necroscopy. Safety and effectiveness has been confirmed by these large animal trials. On the regulatory side, our path to market is exceptionally de-risked. The FDA confirmed in our pre-submission meeting that the HemoCat PA catheter qualifies for the 510(k) clearance process without human clinical trials. This significantly reduces our regulatory costs and accelerates our time to revenue. Our leadership team brings over 120 years of collective experience across cardiology, engineering, commercialization, and corporate finance. As CEO and co-founder, my background is a high-tech engineer and medtech entrepreneur, combines novel product development and commercialization with venture fundraising. Our Chief Technology Officer and co-founder, Des Regan, a veteran medtech engineer, formerly with Medtronic and Norton Medical, holds 23 patents and 4 successful exits. Our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Chris Glover, is a practicing interventional cardiologist, professor of medicine, and director of cardiac catheterization at Ottawa Heart Institute. Our Chief Financial Officer, Robert Orr, brings 15 years of medtech CEO leadership alongside 20 years of merger and acquisition consulting at PwC and Deloitte. To ensure accelerated clinical adoption and market traction, we have established a strategic collaboration with world-class key opinion leaders at Yale School of Medicine. Dr. Paul Hertz, Director of Applied Hemodynamics, and Dr. Indy Singh, Director of Pulmonary Vascular Program, are actively engaged as investigators in our upcoming studies. When we assess the competitive landscape, HemoCat occupies a vacant high-value market position. Non-invasive wearables lack the fidelity required for acute hospital care, so they have no place in acute heart failure management. Indirect methods like lab tests and medical imaging provide delayed data with poor accuracy. Permanent cardiac implants carry high upfront costs and long-term complications. Outdated legacy packs provide direct data, but they come with high infection risks, complex neck insertion, and a 40% interpretation error rate. HemoCat is the first to market measuring and monitoring continuous direct high-fidelity hemodynamic data integrated with AI-powered predictive clinical decision support. Our execution roadmap is structured around capital efficiency and clear valuation inflection points. This $4.5 million seed round funds our FDA 510(k) submission and our large animal trials with Yale. Following FDA clearance in 2028, our $9 million seed A funds our strategic targeted commercial release across 10 to 15 key US hospital centers. And finally, our $20 million Series B in 2030 funds our 200-patient post-market clinical study and supports the commercial launch of our hemodynamics AI platform. We are executing a 2-phase commercial rollout. Phase 1, immediately following FDA clearance, we execute a targeted release across a few top hospitals to build clinical evidence proving fewer complications and earlier hospital discharge based on solid clinical data. Phase 2, we leverage this clinical data to ensure broad payer coverage and optimize hospital reimbursement. By aligning hospital economic incentives with better patient outcomes, we clear the path for full commercial expansion. Our sales will start in 2028 following FDA clearance. HemoCAD market adoption will be accelerated by clinical evidence of early hospital discharge and AI monitoring of heart failure patients. HemoCAD will achieve these near-term financial milestones and turn into a profitable company according to our projections based on a modest 3% of the US PAC market in 2030. Finally, let's look at our liquidity roadmap. The merger and acquisition landscape in this segment is exceptionally active. Strategics like BD, J&J, Medtronic, and Abbott need AI-driven replacements to defend their market share. In 2024, BD acquired Edwards' legacy PA catheter business for $4.2 billion. The official press release revealed that Edwards, holding 55% market share, sold in 2023 for more than $900 million of those 50-year-old legacy PA catheters. This is a robust market proof validating both our market size and also our multi-hundred million dollar exit potential. By backing HemoCAD today, you are funding the next standard of care in acute heart failure. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Great presentation, Eric. Who has our first question? Kobe, did you have a question?
Like I always say, asking the same question, are you familiar with the opportunities that we have in the DACH region to help you actually to raise capital from the Austrian government that they have something like 150 million per quarter? Is it something that could be interesting for you, or we can give you further information?
Definitely, we'd like to have additional information about this opportunity, for sure.
Yeah, great.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else has a question?
So much information into this 10 minutes, right? Where to start?
So,
Hey,
go ahead, Zach.
Just a quick AI question. Where did you build your model from, and what kind of AI model are you using to differentiate results?
Okay, so right now we'll have access to some data coming from Yale School University and from other hospitals as well to train our AI algorithms. And once we're clear for the FDA clearance, and we're clear from the FDA, then we'll have access to our own data, which is way much more accurate, reliable, and providing the precision we need to truly finalize the training our vertical AI algorithms.
And is your data flywheel that the more patients you see, the more data you get back? Are you approving that in the device as well?
Yes, to use the device, you have no choice but to connect it to our HemoLink, and our HemoLink is connected to the hemodynamics AI platform. So every time a user is using the catheter, the data is collected, and yes, for reuse, we get more and more pattern. And as you can imagine, over time, we'll build a high value database like we haven't seen in this world of pressure points inside the heart and different chambers, pulmonary artery, right atrium, and right ventricle as well. It's quite unique.
And there are additional AI questions in the chat box. They'll read them out. And how do you address AI drift? How frequently is the model trained? Who approves the updates? And do updates require FDA review? Or how do you monitor the drift? Maybe we can break that down into step by step. How do you address AI drift?
AI drift. So in our case, I mean, AI drift. In our case, the algorithms will be trained by our own data, so we have full control. So in drifting, in our case, we won't expect that to be a major issue. Obviously, the day we'll have access to our own data following FDA clearance, yes, that will be a major milestone in our whole hemodynamics AI our whole hemodynamics AI platform. But again, all the algorithm, all the data, we have full control. Again, it's a vertical AI. It's not horizontal for everybody to have access and to drill the data.
And how frequently, is the model retrained?
Oh, for every, I would say, on a regular basis as we collect more and more data. Once we're in the market, yes, we're on a regular basis. I would say weekly, maybe weekly basis. Always, optimize the training of our platform.
Okay, and who approves the updates?
So the FDA, so yeah, well, internally we'll approve it, and obviously working in close collaboration with the FDA for sure.
Okay, and do updates require FDA review?
We don't expect. We expect the day that we reach the market, the day we're going to reach the market with the FDA platform, with the AA platform. But that time we expect other AI platforms to be approved by the FDA. So meaning that the FDA will have a clear recommendation on how the AI algorithms could be improved and could be approved. And without having to go back and forth to the FDA every time.
And how do you monitor the drift? Say, treatments change over time, patient populations change over time, that by nature creates edge cases. How do you manage that?
We'll have our own physicians monitoring the data coming in, and we'll review internally the data, make sure that it makes sense, and if we have questions about the data, then we'll contact directly physicians behind the data and better understand, obviously have a clear understanding of the data and put annotations behind the data as well to make sure that again our algorithms are trained with accurate data and accurate notations as well about the meaning of those waveforms and shift and everything else.
Great. Any other questions in the room?
So as you can see, we're on our way to build a very, very high value collection of waveforms, high value clinical data that over time will become a gold mine of information for not only clinicians, but hospitals and researchers and everyone else, unique in the world.
Great. Thank you for that. With that, we'll go ahead and bring up our next presenter, AngieX. Paul, if you want to launch the slides and kick off when ready. In the meantime, Spencer, there's a question in the chat box for you.
All right. So welcome everyone. So I have a very exciting drug, very exciting company to tell you about. It's the fruit of 24 years of biology research and 12 years of drug development. Our founders discovered a very fundamental biology for cancer, and it's ideally suited to antibody-drug conjugate therapy. And so we've created an antibody-drug conjugate. That's what this drug looks like. The antibody, it's an IV infused in the patient's arm. The antibody searches through the body and finds tumor cells and tumor blood vessels and delivers this cytotoxic payload to those cells. And we can attack both the tumor blood vessels and the tumor cells, especially the invasive and metastatic tumor cells. And this pathway is universal in every cell that's capable of invasion and metastasis. So this is a pan-cancer therapy that works in every solid cancer, and it attacks the leading causes of cancer death. So there's potential for a huge impact on cancer mortality. And the next few slides just illustrate preclinical data of how the drug works. This is the attack upon the tumor blood vessels. So we eliminate all the blood vessels within the tumor, but also the large vessels that feed and drain the tumor. And that leads to a mass necrosis in the middle of the tumor. In clinical cancer patients, this commonly heals by scarring. So we kill the tumor cells but leave a scar behind. And then the tumor cell killing, as I mentioned, every invasive and metastatic tumor cell is a high expressor of our target. And so we have abundant tumor cell targets across all solid cancers. And so great potential to address a very large market. This is clinical data at a dose that's too low to really help the patient, but it illustrates the vascular mechanism. So just like in that mouse model that I showed you, we eliminate all the blood vessels of the tumor, and that causes on this PET image the whole tumor to go dark because there's no surviving cells to take up glucose. Now, when the dose is too low, we don't reach the tumor cells and kill them. And so the surviving tumor cells migrate out of the dying tumor and form this shell around the original lesion. And so as we go to higher doses, we'll be killing off those tumor cells. We did do some higher dose treatments earlier in the study when we didn't have the PET imaging. And what we found was that there was good evidence that we were inducing a mass necrosis in the tumor, and the tumor lesions would not grow, but we just couldn't tell how many tumor cells were surviving. So we've introduced FDG PET imaging and circulating tumor DNA assays, and we're repeating the key dose levels. But we've also begun to test combination therapies with immune checkpoint inhibitors. And the advantage of the vascular therapy is when you inflict a vascular wound or any wound, the immune system goes in and investigates the wound looking for germs. And so our vascular injury is a very potent immune activator, and it potentiates immune checkpoint inhibitors. So in this case, we combine with Keytruda. This is after 2 doses, and every patient in the tumor shrank. And so this is very unusual. Normally, checkpoint inhibitors take longer to work. They don't work the same in every tumor. Usually only some tumors respond. Usually only about 12% of patients respond. So we're at 1 of 1 patients responding, so at least temporarily at 100% and a big reduction in glucose uptake. And on the safety side, we've been able to dose to very high doses. We discovered what our dose-limiting toxicity was, and there was a nice separation by dose. And so we think we can get to quite high doses with great safety. And we're beginning to see evidence of survival benefit. The patient who survived the longest was a metastatic pancreatic cancer patient, was on trial through 9 cycles of therapy. In the first 7 cycles, no adverse events at all. And then thereafter, only grade 1 adverse events. The tumors, we believe, scar, and so we get stable disease even if we're killing all the tumor cells. But we may have killed all his tumor cells, and the patient is still alive 21 months later. And in other patients dosed at higher levels, we've been seeing very good survival. We think we're on the verge of a transformative value inflection in the second half of the year as we get back to the high doses that we believe we're delivering a large survival benefit. And this time we have the FDG PET and the circulating tumor DNA assays to prove that we've been killing the tumor cells. And so once we have that data, we'll be able to go to phase 2 expansions and then to a pivotal trial. We think we can get to approval in 2029. We think we can IPO in 2027. And we're currently raising money below $100 million valuation, but at proof of concept, which we expect to reach within a year. Other ADC companies have been valued north of $1 billion. And after approval, they've consistently been valued north of $10 billion. So we could be there in 3 years. So kind of 10x in 1 year, 100x in 3 years, potentially 1,000x at peak value of the company. Our team is composed of top people, leaders in the ADC field. Our manufacturing and quality team has led the top ADC companies and collectively is responsible for 7 approved ADCs, $70 billion of corporate acquisition. I'm supported on the executive side by Ian Dukes, who's been CEO or chairman of a number of companies. Our chief medical officer led oncology research at one of the Harvard hospitals. Our CFO, 5-time life sciences CFO, as well as leading investment banker, founder of the healthcare practice at Goldman Sachs. And I myself, 4-time entrepreneur, former astrophysicist, best-selling author, and I've been generally successful at what I do. And our founders have made the top 2 discoveries in the field of angiogenesis. So anyway, we've got a very attractive security we're raising by a convertible note. We're in discussions to switch to an equity round shortly. And but I just like, in conclusion, to mention this picture of my mother, which I keep next to my computer monitor to remind me to work hard. She was diagnosed with cancer at age 22 when she was pregnant with me and died at age 33 when I was 10. And there's a lot of cancer patients who need help. And I think we have the drug to help them. And all we need are investors to give us the money to keep it moving through the clinic. Thank you.
Great presentation, Paul. Who has their first question?
Yes, Paul, I would like to ask, what is your competitive edge compared to other solutions in the market? Because I see other companies that already raised capital and very successful.
Yeah, so our competitive advantage is well, we have a novel target, and it's just a much better target than the other targets. So that's first of all. And then we were able to make a very high quality drug design. So we were very careful. There was one prior ADC against this target that was made by Pfizer. We were able to increase therapeutic index tenfold over their drug by a number of improvements, and that gives us a very strong patent portfolio. So we think we'll be leaders in the field of TM4SF1 therapeutics for at least another 20 years. And as I mentioned, we can address all solid cancers. We attack the more malignant tumor cells more strongly. So unlike other drugs, which tend to kill off the less malignant tumor cells, but leave you with a more malignant population after you're done with the therapy, we leave patients with a more benign cancer. And then the combination of the tumor cell targeting and the vascular targeting is extremely effective. So the tumor cell targeting can kill all the mobile tumor cells that can leave the tumor, and the vascular targeting can kill all the ones that don't leave the tumor. So between them, we really do have a realistic shot to eliminate cancers from many patients. And as I mentioned, we potentiate immunity as well. So the combinations with immune checkpoint inhibitors give another way that we can potentially eliminate all the cancer cells. So it really has potential to be a transformative therapy, which can help every cancer patient. And so far, we've seen on-tumor activity in every tumor of every patient. So that's 36 patients dosed so far, and well over 100 target lesions. And we have seen very limited instances of off-tumor drug activity, basically for severe adverse events off-tumor. And those are all at the highest doses, as I showed. So, the drug is performing extremely well.
Eric, Paul, I just want to tell you that I didn't see on the team who is the guy that leading all the go-to-market strategy and all the business development.
Yeah, so we don't have a dedicated business development person, so it really falls to me and the CFO. We're still a little early for pharma partnering, so they want the drug to be completely de-risked to be able to see the path to approval and the proof of efficacy. So that's typically, proof of concept where probably 9 months away from it, maybe 12. So the pharma companies, they are following us, but in terms of the time to make a deal, they want to be able to, see exactly how well the drug is performing.
Just let you know that in the DACH region, in Austria, there is one of the biggest hospital research center and university that looking for solution in cancer, and the government here in Austria is supporting a lot of initiatives. It's called akh.at, or in German, AKA, and we are specializing in this field. We have a lot of biotech, biotechnology, diagnostic, therapeutic solution, and I'll be very glad to meet you to give you further information.
Yeah, let's meet, and yeah, I'd love to learn more.
Thank you.
Great. So Paul,
Hey, it's
go ahead.
Mark told me real quick. Can you just go over the raise? So what do you, well, first, how much have you raised to date? And then what are you looking for now? And I think you alluded at a valuation, but I just wanted to know a little bit more.
Yeah. So we opened a convertible note a few months ago. Authorized amount was 10 million. So far, we've raised 2 million into it. But we're likely to convert to equity soon. We're in discussions with a potential lead investor. And
was there a cap on the note?
Yeah, the cap, the note terms, 20% discount, 10% interest rate, $100 million valuation cap. For reference, the company has raised $90 million in the life of the company. And so the cap is very fair, and a lot of upside on it. The priced equity round, we're talking about a valuation below 100 million.
You're making me feel bad. I invest in companies and I'm an entrepreneur that puts, products on shelves, and you're curing cancer. So I'm happy you're doing it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Paul, this question in the chat box, similar to the one you answered with Kobe. If you want to add some more color to that, you're welcome to it. And then there's a follow-up question that says, if the next phase succeeds tomorrow, what is the biggest obstacle preventing oncologists from adopting this? And then how are you protecting your competitive moat? What could the bigs realistically not replicate in your timeline?
They'd have great difficulty. We have a very strong patent moat, but also it takes a good amount of time to bring an ADC to the clinic. As far as oncologists, I would say the biggest issue at the moment is how do you assess efficacy? So we found that CT scans are not helpful because we scar the tumor lesion, and so the size on CT is not representative of how many tumor cells are surviving. So the oncologists just don't know what to do. We think the FDG PET and the circulating tumor DNA will fix that, and so we expect to prove that later this year. Once the oncologist can see what's happening, then as long as the drug is helping patients, so I think they'll be extremely enthusiastic. So the great thing is, because this biology is only active in tumors, so it's very important in embryonic development and in growth, but it's only found in growing tissues. So we have tremendous tumor selectivity. So over 20%, in some patients, as much as 60% of an injected drug may home to tumors. And, so we can have a very good therapeutic margin. And assuming that the recommended phase 2 dose is one that's very safe. And we're also seeing, very strong tumor cell killing on the first and second doses. So we may be killing over 90% of the tumor cells on the first dose at the higher doses. So, I think the oncologists will do very well. The FDA, there's a lot more we have to do. There's a lot of manufacturing and quality requirements for approval. So we're about 3 years from approval. with the FDA, assuming no shortage of money. And, so financing delays could delay approval. But yeah, it's an exciting drug. There's various things to explore. When do you want to use a monotherapy? When might a combination therapy be helpful? So, there's a lot to learn, but it's very exciting.
The next question is, could you put the drug trial phase by month on screen again? By Zach Lynn. Zach, what was your question about that?
Yeah, thanks. So you're still in the dose escalation, is that true? Or have you finished dose escalation?
Yeah, so we completed a first pass through the dose escalation, but we weren't using the FDG PET or the circulating tumor DNA, and we found that we just couldn't tell, so all of the tumors stopped growing, so at the higher doses, none of the tumors grew, and they just stayed exactly the same size forever, even with a lengthy period between doses. So I
Yeah.
think, we must have killed most of the tumor cells, but they didn't shrink either. They left these lesions, you can see here that are
Yeah.
approximately the same size as the
So
original.
I guess just to cut to the chase, if the dose limiting toxicity it doesn't sound like there was much, could you get beyond stable disease to beneficial response by longer exposure times? And
Well,
do you have any indication of that in the escalation phase?
Yeah, so far what we've seen on CT is, we think we leave a scar and the scar is very stable. So if it shrinks, it may shrink over years. But we can get metabolic responses by PET very quickly, and we can get circulating tumor DNA responses very quickly. So we will have to do some FDA engagement to, figure out the regulatory path. But I think we've got a very straightforward path based on progression-free survival and overall survival. And so the tumors aren't growing, so we should be progression-free, and the patients aren't dying at the higher doses. So, if that holds up, then we should have a good path to approval, at least in high unmet need indications, where people have short survival. And while we're getting approved in those, we can validate PET and circulating tumor DNA to create accelerated pathways in slower killing indications.
And I didn't get, is this oral or diffusion?
No, it's an IV infused drug. So it's a large molecule drug, but it goes into a vein in the arm and it circulates.
Sounds like it's well tolerated. So
yeah.
Okay. I also invest in cancer drugs because of my mother. So I'd love to see the picture of your mom.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions? If not, at this point, we'd like to get some feedback from the audience. There's two ways to do this. One, if you turn your camera on, I'll just ask you and you can tell me who you'd like to follow up with. And if you have feedback, that's well. If you'd like to leave the camera off, I will ask you to put in the chat box the name of the companies you would like to follow up. We'll make a short introduction so you can get more information about that. If I start at the top, Mark Toman, who would you like to follow up?
The last one would be great.
I'll do that introduction. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yep.
Morris, who would you like to follow up with?
The same. I'm working with a group that is also designing a first in, I guess, 40 years new antibiotic, and we have some encapsulation technology. So I'd love to continue the conversation. We're aiming at the same problem.
Great. Thank
It's
you for that.
fantastic. I one thing about the how difficult is the treatment? Is it would people have some difficulty during the treatment? Is it harsh?
No. So our most common adverse events are a transient grade 1 fatigue, which is a mild fatigue. People with liver tumors often have a few days of mild nausea because the debris from the liver tumor is eliminated through bile, and that seems to cause nausea for whatever reason. People with a large tumor burden can get, along with their fatigue, they can get muscle aches, which is probably due to the dying tumor cells releasing potassium and other cellular contents into circulation. Uh, but until we get to overdoses, we really haven't seen significant off-tumor effects. And then when we get to overdoses, what we've seen is a grade 3, which is severe liver injury that happened in 4 patients. That's in patients with diabetes who have fatty liver disease, and it's more common in patients who have high blood pressure as well. And so we think we've identified the doses where that happens, and we'll be able to stay below those doses. So that's it's an injury. It gives them 2 days of nausea and vomiting, and the liver recovers over about 2 months.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, Joe Tumalo, who would you like to follow up with?
Yeah, I'd like to talk to Spencer from AccuBreath. Don't know if we're gonna be investing necessarily, but I have a couple of thoughts on some things that might be able to help you forward.
All right, we'll make an introduction there. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Zach Glenn, who would you like to follow up with?
There we go. Sorry, just turning on my mic. I would like to follow up with Anginex. I'm also working with another clinical therapy that might be interesting as a combination. But also the second participant, and I was trying to find the name with the AI model of the heart pressures. That data flywheel seems interesting to me.
You mean Hemocath?
Hemocath, thank you.
Great. We'll make an introduction there. Thank you for that. Anybody else that would like to turn on the camera and give us some feedback or questions? If not, I think we have everybody so far. Oh, thank you, Jen, for yours. We'll take that in. Looks like you're in for, let me grab these right quick. So Jen has NGX and AccuBreath. Great for that. And then we have Jeremy, you're in touch with these people already, but we'll do Hemocath for Jeremy. Anybody else have anything they want to put into the uh, chat box here? I think we got most everybody sorted at this point. Anybody else? Darshan, if you have anything you want to put in there, that'd be great. And with that, I think we have everybody at this point. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for the day. I want to thank everybody for a great session, great presentations, and great feedback as well. With that, we'll be making these introductions in the next half hour. And from that, we looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Anything else, guys?
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you next time. Have a
Thank
good
you,
one.
Paul.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
take
Hall.
care, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks, all.
Yeah.
Hey, Francisco. Hey, Morris. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Hall.
All right. Hey, Mark. Thanks for coming.